All right, very first episode of a new podcast idea and a new idea for Anytime Fitness and for Accelerate Education to get a lot of our trainers together and talk to them about what they did to be successful. And there's no better guest to start with than one Aaron Burgess took his business to 50, 60 plus sessions, head of our group training platform across Anytime Fitness across 23 locations, and currently very successful online. And mate, it's great to have you as the first guest.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. Obviously, the idea of this whole podcast, and we've been talking about it for a while, has been that we want to share what made our great PTs successful.
Yeah.
For me, it's great being able to get in the heads of you guys because you've been there and you've done it. And I think a lot of people can take heaps of lessons from what you've done over the last 7 years.
2019, so yeah, 7 years or so.
There you go. So, plenty of lessons over the last 7 years. But let's go back to day one. Let's talk to me about day one. Where were you when, or maybe even before you started PT?
So I was in the cops. I was a police officer, just looking for a career change, and studied with ARPT, did my PT course, and then obviously you guys offered me a job, and we all started from there. So I started my PT career in September 2019 in Campbelltown West. Small little gym, new little gym, but I was the only PT there, and mate, I'd never done PT, I'd never sold anything, never run a business or anything like that, so it was jumping right in the deep end.
And sometimes that's what you have to do, right?
Yeah, 100%.
You took a pretty big risk leaving a pretty solid career to come to something that's quite uncertain, and I think a lot of people can take something from that in diving all in and putting all of your time and effort into it.
Yes.
When you, obviously, things have changed for you now, and we'll get to that a little bit later in the show, but talk to us about, back when you first started, maybe that first 6 months or so. What was the client count there? How much money were you making on average after about 6 months?
I hit the ground running pretty well. So I think I was up to about 30 odd sessions a week pretty quickly. Before I started paying rent. So within that first sort of 3 months, I was up around that 30 session a week. So yeah, I did pretty well. My goal, my original goal was just to replace my income. From the cops, and I pretty quickly doubled it. So
Not a bad result.
So it was definitely a good choice.
Obviously, when you go into a new job, there's all the great stuff, but there's the things that nobody warned you about as well. What was the one thing that stood out for you in your first couple of months getting established that nobody warned you about that hit you like a ton of bricks?
I think it's very difficult to work for yourself. I think people think it's a great thing to have the freedom and the flexibility to be able to do whatever you want, but then you also need to then have the drive, the internal drive to push yourself to keep going, getting up. There's no time to clock in. There's no time to clock out or anything like that. There's no one telling you have to make phone calls. So having the ability to push yourself without someone behind you pushing you is something that I definitely had to learn because I've always worked for someone else.
And being accountable to someone else. You're accountable to yourself. And a lot of people struggle with that, man. It's not an easy thing to do to be accountable to yourself. It's very easy to kind of skip out on the work that you need to do because I'll do it tomorrow. It's very common in this industry because no one's going to pull you up on it, right? So think back to, was there ever a point where you were close to quitting or thinking about moving away from it? Because that's pretty common for most people in this industry as well. You get that first year kind of bubble where everything kind of goes okay, but was there any point at all where you thought maybe this isn't for me?
I think I had a little bit of a brain snap, probably around that 6 months, maybe a little bit further in. More around, I just wanted to be a better PT. I felt like clients weren't really listening to what I was saying. It was kind of like more of a technical PT sort of brain snap. But for me, like I PT'd through COVID, through both our COVID lockdowns, and the lockdowns were not the best. First lockdown was fine. The second lockdown was like I went back to complete zero. So that was kind of a moment where I was like, maybe I should do something else. Maybe I should get a job, do something like that. But then as soon as the gyms were open again, I just doubled down and I was back fully booked out within a couple of weeks.
And I think people out there, any viewers out there would be lying as PTs if they didn't have that thought through that COVID. That was a tricky time for everybody, but the fact that it made you stronger shows that this is a job that you take seriously and put a lot of time into. The situation is you get out what you put in.
That's exactly right.
What made you choose PT, going back a bit, PT over like a safer job? Because obviously in the cops you've got a lot of security in that role. What made you kind of go, all right, I'm going to take this risk over a safer role that is probably more logical in a lot of people's eyes.
Yeah. For me, like the gym was my whole entire life. Like it was like my personality. I was, one of those stereotypical.
Still is now, right?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, it has its benefits. But yeah, for me, it was like the gym was everything. Yeah. I was training all the time. I was spending all my spare time researching about the gym, how to get better at it, how to build more muscle, how to eat better, all those kind of things. And then I trained at Mount Enon at one of our gyms, saw the flyer up about becoming a PT, and I thought, why not? Why not? Yeah, why not? I didn't really have any plan to be a PT, like to do it full time, to be honest. It was more something to do. As like a secondary thing. So once the opportunity came to make it a full-time thing and it worked, that was really the time where I was like, okay, cool, like this is it, and it can be a long-term career. Because, I know other PTs that aren't as successful, and I'm sure a lot of people do think PT is a little bit of like a fading job, a part-time job, like it's not a real career. So then once it was set in stone that, this is like, you can do this long term, you can make a lot of money. It was something I was very happy I'd made that choice. Yeah,
and it's funny, you've gone through like the perfect pathway really when we look at from my role that oversees it. You've gone through the perfect pathway of someone who applied, and we obviously run the course. You've applied, you've done the course through Corey, who was in your role back then, and facilitated that course. You went and you studied with us, you became a personal trainer with us, you had a great career as a PT, face to face, ran a really successful business that I'm sure we'll get through soon. And then have now stepped into more leadership roles where you're at right now. So it's from our end, we'd love seeing that pathway of someone who comes from the ground and makes their way through the business from a progression level. So that's always nice to see. What do you think kind of changed when things started to click? Was there like a mentality for you that maybe like a switch that flicked in your mind when things started to happen?
Yeah, I think I've always had a really good work ethic. I think that's something that I have never struggled with. And so like for me, getting up and coming to work is not an issue. For working long hours is not an issue, none of that sort of stuff. But I still remember, and I still tell the story all the time, where I think I did 3 comp sessions back to back, signed all 3 clients, and I sent you a message and said, I just gave myself a $900 a week pay rise in 3 hours. This is crazy. And it was like that moment of like, wow, like everything I do directly impacts, like it's like input versus output.
It's on me.
Yeah, everything. Like literally everything. If I choose to sleep in, if I choose to not make phone calls, if I choose to not do comp sessions, that immediately impacts me. No one else, doesn't impact anyone else. It's just like, so just that switch of like, I'm fully in control.
Yeah. Like and people are scared of that.
Yeah.
At the same time, because, and it's very easy to kind of turn up to work, you do your 9 to 5, you leave, and that's fine. But, and having that full accountability on yourself and the full responsibility that if I don't make money this week, that's on me. There's no one else I can blame but me. It's empowering, but it's also incredibly scary for a lot of people. So just depends on how you look at it. But obviously when things started to click, was there anything you stopped doing? Was there something you started doing at the start and then things clicked and you stopped doing that specific thing?
Not really, to be honest. Not really.
Did all the right stuff from day one, hey?
I hope so, yeah. I think so. I spent a lot of time in the gym. Like I said, I like going to the gym anyway, so I just spent a lot of time in the gym. I spoke to a lot of people, made a lot of phone calls, did as many comp sessions as I possibly could, and then I kept doing that no matter how busy I was. Like I still talked to people on the floor, still made phone calls, still did comp sessions, like in the time slots I made available, so that way it was just never a backward step.
And there was one thing that always stood out for you specifically with me was that your work ethic was second to none. You'd start at 5 a.m. in the morning. You'd be sometimes leaving the gym at 9 o'clock at night. And that's what it takes to be successful initially in this industry. You know, you've got to work your ass off. But the other thing was that you use group training as a platform to funnel leads 100%. Into your business. And a lot of people forget that there's two sides to the fitness industry. There's the group training side and there's the PT side. A lot of people pick one or the other. You can do both, and you can do both very well. Yeah,
100%. And I'm not a group training person at all. Like I don't do burpees. I'm not really mobile. So for me, running group training was something I'd never done, apart from in the PT course. I've never participated in group training, never done anything like that. But I just saw it as a way of being able to connect with people, talk to more people. All my clients did my group training sessions, and everyone that was in my group training sessions, I could spend time talking to them about their goals and then get them booked in for comp sessions when I had time available to double dip, essentially. Like it was really, really good.
Yeah, paid prospecting.
Yeah,
it's
pretty
good
exactly
gig.
Right. Yeah.
It's great for exposure initially as well. Gets your profile out there. If you had to point to maybe one decision that changed everything, what do you think it was?
Just doing the PT course. That moment right there.
Making that big kind of life-changing
full pivot, man. Yeah, full pivot. Like I was, planning on getting married. I was 28, just about to turn 29. Yep. So later in life,
early midlife crisis.
Yeah, exactly, man. So it was a full pivot to something different.
Yeah.
In terms of when I was actually PTing, like I said, I just hit the ground running as hard as I could. I just wanted to put as much time and effort into it as humanly possible.
Yeah.
And I just maintained that. There was no, I never took the foot off the accelerator.
And I think, look, honestly, there probably would have been a temptation for you to maybe hold on to the cops and dip your toe into PT.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people do.
Yep.
As a PT, they go, I'm going to keep my part-time job.
Yeah.
I'll keep my full-time job and I'll see if I can make this work on the side.
Yeah.
And I'll see if I can replace some of the income on the side.
Yeah.
The problem with that, and is that if you don't put 100% of time into something, you don't get the 100% reward.
Yeah.
So if you're putting 20% of your time into your PT business, you're going to get 20% reward or 20% income back.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think most people should have a lot of annual leave. They should, so you can kind of test it.
Yeah.
Take a little bit of time off, test it, put your full-time hours into PT and see what the return you get. Yep. And then that way it's kind of like a safety net. And you can take the leap without actually taking the leap.
And any good gym out there, I'm sure, will give what we call a build-up phase, right? Yeah. So you get that 4 or 5 weeks rent-free anyway, depending on where you are. Yeah. With us, you get 5 weeks rent-free.
Yeah.
You can, like you said, take 5 weeks of annual leave. Hopefully you've banked that with your current job and you can dip your toes in and work out whether it's worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
I can guarantee that if you put 5 weeks of 100% effort into something, you're going to get the reward.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You're going to get the reward. Yeah. Let's go back to when you were PTing and you were doing, because what was the top end of the amount of sessions you were doing at your peak?
67.
67 PT sessions a week. That's 50 plus hours a week.
Yeah.
What were you doing back then to get clients? What was the main kind of lead generation tactic?
I didn't call new joiners. I didn't do anything like that.
Yeah.
The only new joiners that I would fill comp sessions were when the club manager contacted me directly and said, this person really wants PT, can you fit them in?
Yep.
Pretty much all of my lead generation came off the floor. It was all prospecting and through group training as well. It was just direct face-to-face contact.
And a lot of people struggle with prospecting on the gym floor.
Yeah.
It's not something that comes naturally. You're an introverted guy.
I'm a very introverted person.
And maybe people wouldn't know that or understand that, but sometimes you've got to do things you're uncomfortable doing, which is just life.
Yeah.
But is there maybe an approach that made it easier for you to, as an introvert, approach people on the gym floor?
I think the advantage I had was I was always at the gym.
Yeah.
Even from the start, if you remember, we worked that sale day together before I was qualified.
Yeah.
And I spent 12 hours at the gym.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a job and I wasn't qualified yet. So just talking to people. So I think people underestimate, if you're physically at the gym, you say hello and bye to everyone, you then branch that into a, hey, how's your training going? People naturally want to talk to you. It's not awkward, it's not ice-breaking, because you've said hello to them 3 times before you go have that prospecting business chat.
Yeah.
So they want you to come talk to them. And then I always liked a soft approach of picking up a weight here or there, or just approaching them with a little bit of humour, a little bit of self-deprecating humour or something like that. That always worked for me. But I think the initial, just if you say hello and goodbye to every single person, they'll talk to you.
Eventually.
Yeah. And it's not ice-breaking because they know who you are. You've said hello to them 3 times before you go say, hey, how's your training going? Yep. Let's talk about your goals. Let's talk about your progress.
It's very easy to rush it.
Yeah.
You can build relationships with people over days, weeks, before you have to have that harder conversation of, hey, let's book a comp session.
Yeah.
It's all about value.
Yeah. But you have to be in the gym. That's the biggest thing. If people aren't there, you don't get, because you can speed it up by, if I say hello to you and bye to you, hello to you, bye to you tomorrow, next day we're having a proper conversation. That's 3 days. It's not real long.
And I guess if you could give anybody, we won't dive into too much of your sales process, but if you could give someone a piece of advice on, the biggest bang for buck advice you received when it comes to consults and signing up a consult, what would that be?
I think the whole we're the professional and the doctor's mentality of, you don't give people options and you don't give them advice. You tell them exactly what they need. Yep. You tell them how you're going to fix their problem. People come to us because they want to fix a problem. That's what their goal is, right? And so if I confidently say, this is exactly how I'm going to fix your problem, that's the sales pitch. There's you don't need to be salesy. You don't need to be promising things you can't promise. You just tell someone exactly how you're going to fix their problem with that they've been struggling for 2 years, and they're going to want to naturally train with you. Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Be confident and fix problems.
Yeah, great advice. Session numbers, you said 67 was at your peak. Yeah. How many clients and what kind of money was coming in when you were doing that?
So it was a bit over 4K a week.
Yep.
That was usually where I sat at. And then most of my clients would do 2 sessions a week.
Yep.
So I'd probably sit between like 20 to 30 clients, maybe a little bit over 30 when I was at the top end.
Yep.
But I didn't really like people doing 1 session a week. It was always, we trained together twice. We spent a lot of time together. Yeah.
Yep. And would you recommend that's the approach people would take is the multi-session option for the most part?
I think so, yeah. It worked for me. I know other people do things differently. I didn't do any sort of online training or anything like that, so there was no sort of hybrid or anything.
Yeah.
Everyone got a program, everyone trained with me a couple of times a week, and that's just how it worked for me. So that's the way I like it, but I know other people do it differently, but yeah, it worked really well for me.
Sounds like it. Yeah. 67 sessions says it did. Yeah. From a mindset perspective, obviously, the work ethic comes sometimes naturally for most people, right? You either work hard or you don't.
Yeah.
But I want to dive into maybe your beliefs around business because I think you've got some beliefs potentially that other PTs might not have.
Yep.
What do you think those are that differentiates you?
I think you have to relate to people. That's a big thing. Being able to wear multiple different hats is a huge thing for PT and for any business owner. I think something that a lot of young PTs and new PTs to the industry struggle with is they don't treat it like a business.
Yeah.
So a business is 7 days a week. Like you have to be constantly on, you have to be hustling, or otherwise your business goes backwards, right? No one's paying your bills apart from you. So you have to treat it like a business in terms of constantly looking to the future, constantly looking to grow, constantly looking for what's next. Like you can't just stay stagnant and otherwise you can start to go backwards.
Yep.
That's probably the biggest thing. You just have to put time and effort into it. And if you do, you get directly rewarded. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah, you get the instant gratification.
Yeah, literally.
Sign a client up, you make more money, the money's in your account.
Yeah, like you think of the boys that own the gyms, like we don't pay rent, we don't pay like massive rent, we don't pay staff and all the rest of gym equipment, all the rest of the...
Overheads and nuts.
Yeah. So like you can make profit day one. Mm-hmm. You can make profit week one if you put the time and effort in.
Yeah. I'd love to ask you what held you back early, but I don't think there really is anything because you hit the ground running so quickly. Is there anything maybe that there was something that held you back initially? You could have started faster?
I think the introvertedness was definitely something.
Yeah, okay.
I think for me also coming from a land of I don't share information, I don't talk to people, everyone's out to get me, I'm not on social media, all those kind of things. If I didn't have that, I could probably be a little bit further along in terms of like online business and where I'm at now.
Yeah.
But yeah, back then it wasn't too much of an issue. It's like you go to work, you put your work hat on, like that's fine. But yeah, the that side of things might have.
Yeah, and look, again, that's probably unavoidable for the most part because of the background that you had. And I'm sure there might be other people that are in a similar place where they are in, services like that, where they do need to change their beliefs somewhat or maybe force themselves out of that.
Yeah.
You're someone who started at 5 a.m, which isn't easy to do. When you've got a workload that you have, you kind of have to.
Yeah.
But 60-odd sessions a week, 5 a.m. starts, 9 p.m. finishes. How did you kind of protect your energy? Because you're an introvert, and then you're communicating with people all day, every day. You must have been ruined at the end of the day.
Yeah,
what was kind of the routine or the things that you made sure were non-negotiables for you so you could protect your energy to make it happen?
I always had to train. That was my big thing. I always found time to train, no matter when it was, where it was. I always made sure I had time for myself to train. Always had to have a nap during the day. That was always a big thing.
Yep.
And honestly, my wife was the one that bore the brunt of it, but I just wouldn't talk to people when I'd go home. So, like she was a shift worker as well. So like we always had time for each other. Like the split shift worked well for us. And I also condensed all of my PT into 4 days once I was like set in stone. So I'd have a 3-day weekend, but those 3 days were kind of to recover from the 4 days to then go back and do the 4 days. But yeah, like I said, I'm not worried about working long hours. And it's not stressful. Like you just go to the gym for 12 hours, 14 hours a day. It's all right. It's not that bad. It's an air conditioner. Like it's indoors. So they're long days, but they're not hard or stressful days, but very mentally draining.
And it probably comes back to the passion that you have for it too, right? It's a long and it's a stressful day if you're not passionate about what you do. When you love it, and you love helping people and you have a genuine passion for getting people stronger or whatever it is, it isn't draining.
Yeah.
It isn't hard.
Yeah. And I think, if you treat it like a sales game and all that kind of stuff where you're constantly chasing money, it potentially will be stressful and all those kind of things. If you're just generally helping people, it's cool. It's fun. Yeah.
Good little mindset tip there. Obviously, you've been with Anytime for nearly, 7 years now?
Yeah.
Coming up September, I think it's 7 years.
Yeah.
How did being within Anytime Fitness kind of change what was possible or create what was possible for you? You've been through our whole pathway. Yeah. So is there anything specifically that kind of helped you along your way?
Absolutely everything, to be honest.
Yeah, okay.
Like I said, I had no idea what I was doing when I first started. So the online education that we had at the time, obviously meeting with you and Corey and that as mentors, was everything. Like, I never made a sales call, never spoke to people on the phone. I'd never had a job interview, to be honest, before this. So everything was brand new. So all of the education and the support and everything that came from it meant everything. The training days we had, just absolutely everything that on the education and the support side of things was it.
Yeah, cool. I'll slip you that $100.
Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, look, we pride ourselves on the education side of things, and I think in your case, it's great to have success stories of people that have taken it from literally zero, never done this before, to 67 sessions. Not many PTs make more than $1,000, and most PTs are out of the industry within 12 months. 80% are out of the industry within 12 months, which is sad. But you've shown people here that it's very, very possible if you have the work ethic and you put the time in and you hone your craft. And education, of course, is something you're really passionate about too. Not only have you learnt through the Anytime network, but then you've gone and started to create your own education and seek out education elsewhere. Would you recommend anybody kind of go to any external providers or online courses or anything that move the needle for you there?
In terms of like PT stuff, I definitely like Clean Health. They provide a lot of good courses. JPS as well. In terms of courses and stuff like that, that's definitely where I would sort of lean towards in Australia. And there's so much good free information out there now. Like there's podcasts and YouTube channels and Instagram. You just have to weed through the not so good information and find people that are credible and that you aligns with what you do. Because at the end of the day, like the gym and nutrition and all those kind of things, there's so many different ways you can do it. There's, if you have different goals, if you have all these different things, like not everyone wants to be a bodybuilder. So, if you find what works with you and what resonates with you as a person and, what you want to provide with people, there's so much information, but different types of information. Yeah,
absolutely. We're going to go through 5 rapid fire questions. I want you to answer these as honest and as quick as possible.
Yep.
What's your best $0 or free lead gen move you've ever made?
Talk to people in the gym. Be present. That's it. Yeah. You have to be in the gym.
Don't have to overcomplicate it. That's for sure. What's one book, podcast, or person that every PT should follow? Could be one of each, whatever.
Yeah, James Smith, Alex Hormozy, those kind of people for business stuff. And then my PT, like my training side, has completely changed once I started reading more of Chris Beardsley stuff and getting more into the science side of hypertrophy. So anything by him, but it's a bit sciencey and a bit nerdy.
Cool, awesome. What's the biggest money mistake that you made in the first year?
Not expecting to make as much money as I did, and
GST,
tax and all that kind of fun stuff. That was probably the biggest thing.
What's your best piece of advice to a PT on day one who's kind of doesn't have any money and is a bit unsure about what's next?
Just go all in.
Yeah.
Just go all in. Just give it a red hot crack. Even if you are doing it completely wrong, it's a numbers game. The more people you talk to, the more leads you generate, the more comm sessions you do, the more people you convert. It's that simple.
Yeah, it is a numbers game. Absolutely. Good advice. And with, the increase in AI and everything happening in the world at the moment, where do you see what PT is, both face-to-face and online? Where do you see PT in the next 5 years?
Face-to-face PT will never die. That's never going to be a thing. I think it's the personal aspect and the ability that you have to hold someone more accountable and motivate them and all those good things that PT does face-to-face is a lot better. I think AI will weed out a lot of crappy, cheap trainers that don't put any effort in and don't have any time for people and just want to make money on a scalable level because you can do it all for free. Why pay someone $10 a week when I can do it for free? So I think all those things will die, but high value, high ticket PT that's extremely personable and a real human will never ever die.
And that's the thing with, like, you know, a lot of people saying, oh, AI is going to make PTs irrelevant. And, you know, nothing can make accountability irrelevant. No, AI will never provide accountability the way that a personal trainer can. And that personal approach, you know, you can give AI as much information as possible. That doesn't mean that it's going to be able to turn that into some actionable steps that someone needs to take. AI will improve, 100%. It's going to continue. It's scary where it's going right now. But nothing will replace human interaction and human relationships like what we provide.
It's not possible.
I guess to wrap things up, mate, if someone's watching out there and they're maybe a struggling PT or an aspiring PT and either want to get into it or want to turn their business around and really make this a career, what's the one message or best piece of advice you could give them? You know, you've said go all in. What else have you got?
I think that's pretty much it. Like, devote more time to it. Just actually have a red hot crack, because like I've said throughout the whole thing, and we've spoken about a lot, that PT struggle with is they're afraid to take control. If you own it and you know that everything you do gives you that output, you want to make more money, go make more money. If you want to work less hours, go work less hours. Like, you can literally control everything you do in your business. So if you're struggling, do more. Like, the thing that PTs, and we see it now that we work with PTs and mentor PTs, is when someone struggles, they pull back. They spend less time in the gym, they make less phone calls, they do less comps. So all the things that will help them get out of that struggle, they do less of, because they're not motivated. It's like going to the gym. If you only wait for motivation, then you struggle. You create discipline, you create routine, then you get the result.
And I think, you know, it's one thing, like, to say go all in and to put the time and effort in, which 90% of the time will be the answer. For the 10% who are doing the wrong things but going all in on the wrong things, like, you know, obviously we'd look at business and the practical technical skills as two different things. Would you recommend someone kind of enhances their knowledge in the practical technical side first, or would you recommend they just get better at sales and business?
I think sales and business gets a direct result. Technical keeps people around. So you have to get the results with your clients to retain them, and then you get referrals in the long run. But if you need clients immediately, then you need to get better at talking to people. That's the big thing. So I think that's something I did really well, was being able to relate to people and build connections and read people very quickly. I ask a lot of questions. I find out a lot of information, how I can resonate with someone. So, like, if you can do that well, you'll have clients. If you're then not a great PT at the end of the day, they will be a revolving door of clients. But you have to have clients first, in my opinion. Absolutely. Well said. Mate, we could sit here forever. We won't, though, because time is valuable. But, mate, obviously, thanks for joining us. It's the first of many, and there was no better first guest for us than you. Thanks, mate. Where can people find you, follow your work with you? So I'm on Instagram, Coach_Aaron Burgess on Instagram. Facebook's the same. And all the information's there. Perfect. Awesome. Thanks for joining me, mate. Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thanks, mate.